Okay, hello Hawthorn. Right, we weren't expecting to be doing this again, were we? But it should be fine. Let's have some good lessons. So, our very first lesson is going to be an English lesson. Now, we finished Christmas poems. I think that was quite obvious now. And we finished our newspapers. Our next topic is a topic on fables. Now, we're going to do quite a few lessons on this. So if it sounds like I'm not telling you something about fables in this lesson, it's because we're going to do a lesson on it at some point in the future. So today's learning objective, to recognise the features of a fable. What makes a fable a fable? What are the fable-y things about it? If you think about things we've done before, we've done newspapers. So the features of a newspaper was things like it had pictures, it had headlines, it had paragraphs in order of importance, it had technical language, it was generally written in the third person, it was written in the past tense, except for the last paragraph might be the future tense, those sorts of things. When we did alternative fairy tales, again, we had sort of descriptive language and we had different things that made them what they were. Today, we're going to be thinking about what makes a fable a fable. Now, normally, if we can do this lesson, I would hand out a load of fables to you and you would read them and you would talk to them with your partners and you would tell me orally, so you just tell it to me, what you think makes a fable a fable. We can't do it that way around. We're going to have to do it backwards. So today, I'm going to tell you what makes a fable, and then you're going to find examples of it in some examples of a fable. So I'll split it into two bits. There's the style of it, the story style. So they've normally got a name that's based on a character. So all these fables that we're going to talk about have generally got a character's name in the title, and the character is generally an animal. I think the fox crops up in a few of these, lions crop up all the time. The next thing is they're obviously not real. No one's trying to pretend they were real. No one's adding lots of details to make it real and normal. Foxes don't talk, lions don't talk, they don't do the things that they do in these stories. It's not trying to be real, it's just trying to teach us something. As I said before, the characters are all animals. Now, a lot of the people who wrote fables also wrote stories with humans in them. Strictly speaking, if it's got a human in it, it's not a fable, it's a parable. A parable is just a story like a fable that has humans in it. It's important that they have dialogue between characters. Dialogue means speech, which means I hope you can all remember how to do speech, direct speech, with your inverted commas and reporting clauses. Now, there's very little character description. These things are short. When someone says a fox, it's assumed that you know what a fox looks like. It's assumed that you know what a fox's personality is like. If you're writing a Harry Potter book and you first mention Voldemort, you've got to tell people what he looks like because Voldemorts don't normally exist. You don't walk around the corner and go, oh, look, there's a Voldemort. But there's an assumption that you know what a fox looks like. Now, we don't tend to see foxes much these days, but don't forget these were written a long time ago when people possibly did see foxes on a day-to-day basis. But it's not just assumed you know what a fox looks like, it's assumed that you know what a fox acts like. So there's an assumption that foxes are cunning and clever. If you ever watch Peter Rabbit, he's got a fox in that who's always trying to trick Peter Rabbit. Actually, he's not that clever because he keeps on losing, but that's more to do with Peter Rabbit than it is to do with fables. So very little character description. In fact, there's very little of anything. They're very, very short. It's all about the action. So it's all about the verbs, it's all about the adverbs, it's all about the things that are happening. Boom, 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 3 or 4 things happen in a row. There's the end of your fable. Lovely. It ends with something that I'm not really going to talk about today because I want to do a whole lesson on it. And then there's the writing style. We are looking for time language, something that makes the story go in the right order. But these fables don't have a time. It's not in the year 2020 or in the year 1645. It's not at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's very, very vague. It's at some point in the past, something happened. It's a bit like the fairy tales. So we're going to be looking for time language, words that tell us the order of things, the time of things, what happens first and next and after that, and what causes one thing that causes the next. But we're not looking for dates and times. As I said before, we're looking for dialogue, so we need to find that written speech, I should say. It's in the past tense. We're not pretending these stories are happening now. It's not like instructions that's telling you do this now and do this now. We're not saying it's written in the future, like the last paragraph of a news report. This happens in the past. So we need to think about what tells us something that happens in the past. And if you can remember, back to our tense lessons before, we're looking at verbs. We're looking at the past tense version of verbs. So ed endings, or those Anglo-Saxony type verbs where the vowel sound changes in the middle. So we won't have jump, we will have jumped. We won't have run, that's a vowel sound Anglo-Saxon one, that will become ran, and all those other horribly complicated ones that we did in some of our spelling lessons. And we're looking for third person. You're not in it, I'm not in it. The person who wrote it's not in it, the person that he's reading it to is not in it. It's about somebody else. Well, in this case, talking animals, which amazingly don't exist. So, third person, somebody else. Not the first person, the person that's writing it, not the second person, the person that's reading it, but the third person or the third people. So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read some fables, and I'm going to look for examples of each of these things. Now, I've got a pen and I can write on the fables, so I'm going to try and colour code to those colours. Not convinced I've got enough colours. Nope. Okay, let's see what we can do. I'll just label things. I can start with red for time language because I've got a red. So I'm going to look for time language. I put dialogue twice. That makes it simpler. That can go. That was silly of me. I'm going to look for time language. I'm going to look for dialogue between characters. I'm going to look for the past tense or things that show me it's past tense. I'm going to look for things that show me it's third person. I'm going to look for things that are obviously not real, and I'm going to show that there's not a lot of character description. I don't know why I put full stops there either. It's late, that's my excuse. Oh, and that one can go as well. These aren't sentences, they don't need full stops, they don't have a subject, noun and a verb. So let's look for these things. Time language, dialogue, past tense, third person, obviously not real, and very little character description. So the first one, I think you might have heard of this one. The Hare and the Tortoise. The Hare was once boasting of his speed before all the other animals. I've never yet been beaten, he said. When I put forth my full speed, I challenge any one here to race with me. The Tortoise said quietly, I accept your challenge. That's a good joke, said the Hare. I can dance round you all the way. Keep your boasting until you've beaten, answered the Tortoise. Shall we race? So a course was fixed and a start was made. The Hare darted almost out of sight at once, but soon stopped and, to show his contempt for the Tortoise, lay down to have a nap. The Tortoise plodded on, and plodded on, and when the Hare awoke from his nap, he saw the Tortoise just near the winning post and could not run up in time to save the race. Then said the Tortoise, plodding wins the race. Sometimes you hear it written as slow and steady wins the race. By the way, contempt means when you don't think much of somebody, when you have a very low opinion of them. So he's saying the Hare didn't have a very high opinion of the Tortoise, thought it was a bit rubbish, so he thought, I can sleep and still beat you, but he couldn't. So, what we're looking for, time language. What can I see? Once, that tells us that it happens once upon a time. This before here is not one. That doesn't mean before in time, that means before as the preposition to stand in front of somebody. Others. There's not too many of this. So a course was and a start was made. At once, that tells us time. Soon stopped, that tells us time. Then we've got when. We've got this phrase here, when the Hare awoke, that tells us time. And then we've got a then, that tells us time. So just after words that help us put it in order. Now, if you have a printer, brilliant. You can print this out Yeah, I've done a copy of it for you to print out. You could print this out and you could annotate it and draw on it like I have. Neatly, please. Not scribbly. I know mine's a bit scribbly, but I'm trying to write on an iPad sideways, so, bear with me. Yours is a pencil in a book, neatly. If you don't have a printer, that's absolutely fine. I'll show you in a minute how you could present this work as well. I'm going to try and make sure that all work you're ever given doesn't need anything more than something to watch this video on, your home learning book, and a pencil. But if you've got other things and it makes it easier, you obviously can use them because we're not going to ignore stuff if it's there. So there's our first bit, time language. Done that one. Dialogue between characters. Well, there's loads of examples I could give. What colour was that one? Blue. Have I got blue? I have got a blue. So we've got some dialogue here. This is the hare talking. And then we've got some here. This is a tortoise talking. You don't need to show me all of them, just show me an example of dialogue. Dialogue means two people talking. Dia means two. Monologue means one person talking. Basically what I'm doing at the moment, just chatting to myself on an iPad because there's nobody actually in my lonely room. But dialogue, which is what we're looking for, is these two people talking to each other. So there's an example of dialogue. Past tense, green. Okay, let's have some green. Said's past tense verb, because say is the present tense version. Was, that auxiliary verb, not is, but was. Answered, it's got ed on the end, that makes it past tense. Darted, ed, past tense. Stopped, ed, past tense. Lay, not lays or laying, but lay, the past tense one. Plodded, ed, you don't need to show me all of them, but again, just a few examples to show me that that is in the past tense. Third person, do I have a purple pen? Do I have a purple? I've got a purple highlighter, I'll do. Well, pink, but close enough. Third person, the hare. Oh, I'm not the hare in Aesop, the person who wrote this, it wasn't the hare. The other animals, in fact, all of the nouns in this that are something are not us. There's no I's in it, there's no we's in it, there's no you's in it. There might be a he in it. Let's see if we see a he. Oh yeah, there's a he. That's a good one. He's and she's and they's. Brilliant for showing third person. I's and me's. That's first person. You's. That's second person. But there's none of the you's. Well, only in the speech. Doesn't count if it's in the speech. That's that one done. Obviously not real. Evidence that this is obviously not real. It's got a talking tortoise in it. So they don't talk. I don't think I need to add much more to that one. Very little character description. Brown. Should enjoy my colours better. Let's use that kind of strange colour. What am I looking for again? I've forgotten already. Very little character description. The hare, again, no description. It just says the hare. It's not the tall hare, the clever hare, the fast hare. It's assumed we know that hares are fast. It's assumed that we know that tortoises are slow. If we don't know, the fact he's boasting tells us, but there's not a lot of character description. It's quite hard to label when something isn't there, so I understand that was going to be tricky. Yeah, and that's all the things that we're after for today. I'll read another couple of stories, one more for me to have a quick look through, and then one more for you, or two more for you to look at. I want at least one of them done. It'd be nice if you could do both of them. So the next story is The Fox and the Crow. A fox once saw a crow flying off with a piece of cheese in its beak and settle on a branch of a tree. That's for me, as I am a fox, said Master Reynard, and he walked up to the foot of the tree. Good day, Mistress Crow, he cried. How well you are looking today! How glossy your feathers! How bright your eye! I feel sure your voice must surpass that of other birds, just as your figure does. Let me hear but one song from you, that I might greet you as the Queen of Birds. The crow lifted up her head and began to caw her best, but the moment she opened her mouth, the piece of cheese fell to the ground, only to be snapped up by Master Fox. That'll do, he said. That was all I wanted. In exchange for your cheese, I will give you a piece of advice for the future. Do not trust flatterers. So in this story, the fox, who's called Master Reynard, which is just an old word for fox, is a fox, trickster fox character in some other stories, or it just means fox. And Master just means Mister. It's literally what Mister is short for, so it's just saying Mr. Fox. So in this one, Mr. Fox sees a crow. The crow has cheese in its mouth, and it thinks to itself, how am I going to get that cheese? And if he says to the crow, give me the cheese, it's going to go, no, I'm up a tree, you can't fly. If he says, please can have the cheese, it's probably still not going to get it. It thinks to itself, well, I need to make the crow open its mouth. I need to make the crow do something. How about if I ask her to sing? If I just say, hey, crow, sing at me, please, it's going to not do it. But if I say, oh, you're really pretty, you've got beautiful eyes, your feathers look good. Oh, I bet you can sing. I bet you've got a brilliant singing voice. And it'll make the crow feel all proud of itself. Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Bet you can sing. Oh, go on then. I probably can. Open its mouth to sing. Out falls the cheese. Thank you very much, goes the fox. And at the end, it says, don't trust flatterers. Flatterer is somebody who tells you something nice, even when they don't mean it, generally because they want something from you. In this case, cheese, but it's not always cheese. So again, I can go through this and I can look for things to do with tense, things to do with time words. So I've got once. What else have we got? The moment. So the moment she opened her mouth, again, that tells us when. There's not a lot of it. You're not going to find lots of examples of all these things because, frankly, they're really short. It's not like a 4-page story where you're going to find lots and lots of things. If you find 1 or 2 examples of it, brilliant. We're going to find things that show that it's past tense because we've got words like walked. We're going to find words that tell us it's in the third person because we don't see you or me or I. We see fox and crow, and there might be a he or a her. Yeah, there's a her just here and here, and a he here, and the name fox here, and crow here. We don't have a lot of description. We just have a fox and we have a crow. No one has to tell you that crows are black and what a crow looks like because it's assumed you know what a crow looks like. And nobody tells you what the fox looks like because it's assumed you know. And no one says that the fox is clever because it's assumed that you know the fox is clever. What was our other thing we were looking for? Oh, that was zooming. You can do that. Past tense, yeah, there's loads of ed words. Oh, cried, walked, saw being the past tense of see, one of those Saxon change your vowel sound words. Snapped, lots of examples. And again, to show that it's not real, it's got a talking fox in it. I hate to break it to you, Peter Rabbit's not real. This isn't real. It's not realistic. Talking animals are not something we see on a day-to-day basis. So now we all go. I'm going to read you 2 stories. Now, some of you are thinking about, I haven't got a printer, I can't do that. And I'm not expecting you to write out the whole story. What you can do is write down the hare and the tortoise, and then you can say time language, and you can write me a couple of words that you found. Dialogue between characters, and you could write me a little note that says, oh, the fox and the crow talk to each other about cheese. Past tense, I found this word and this word and this word, and they show past tense. Third person, I found he and her and they, and it shows third person. Obviously not real. It's about a talking fox. This is obviously not real. Very little character description. It just says fox. You can just write down a sentence under each of those subtitles for each of your two stories. Now, your two stories. Do at least one. If you have time, it'd be lovely if you did both of them. So the first story is The Lion and the Mouse. Once, when a lion was asleep, a little mouse began running up and down upon him. This soon wakened the lion, who placed his huge paw on him and opened his big jaws to swallow him. "Pardon, O king," cried the little mouse. "Forgive me this time. I shall never forget it. Who knows but what I may be able to do to help you to do you a turn some of these days?" That means to help you some of these days. The lion was so tickled by the idea of the mouse being able to help him that he lifted up his paw and let him go. Some time after, the lion was caught in a trap, and the hunters who desired to carry him alive to the king tied him to a tree when they went to search for a wagon to carry him on. Just then little mouse happened to pass by, and seeing the sad plight in which the lion was, went up to him and soon gnawed away at the ropes that bound the king of the beasts. "Was I not right?" said the little mouse. So in this story, the lion is woken up by a mouse crawling up and down on him, and he catches a mouse, and he's about to eat him, and the mouse says, "Let me go, because one day I might better help you." And the lion thinks this is so hilarious that the thought that a mouse could ever help a lion that he lets him go. Doesn't think he ever will. And then some time later, the lion's caught in a trap, he's tied up to a tree, and off the hunters go. And then the mouse appears, sees the lion, and this is somewhere he can help because he can eat away through the ropes, because mice have got good gnawing teeth being rodents, something the lion couldn't do. And so he helps the lion and he lets him free. I need you to go through that. Either print it, label it, stick it in your book, or write each of the subtitles and write me examples or notes for where you found those examples of things. It doesn't have to be much. It's short. There won't be lots of examples. The next one, The Lion, the Fox and the Beasts. The lion once gave out that he was very poorly and summoned the animals to come to him and give him some company. So the goat came to the lion's cave and stopped there listening for a long time. Then a sheep went in, and before she came out, a calf came up to speak to the Lord of Beasts. But soon the lion seemed to recover and came to the mouth of his cave, that means the entrance of his cave, and saw the fox, who had been waiting outside for some time. "Why do you not come to pay your respects to me?" said the lion to the fox. "I beg your pardon, Majesty," said the fox, "but I noticed the track of the animals that have already come to you, and while I see many hoof marks going in, I see none coming out. Till the animals that have entered your cave come out again, I prefer to remain in the open air." So in this story, a lion pretends to be poorly. He invites all the other animals to come to his cave, and one by one, the animals go into his cave, but they don't come out again, because obviously he's a lion, he's going to eat them. The fox gets to the entrance of the cave, looks at the entrance of the cave and thinks, "There's something a bit suspicious going on here. Why have all the animals gone in, but no one's come out? He's eating them, isn't he? I'm not that stupid. I'm not going in." And then the lion comes in and says, "Why are you not coming in, mate?" They're like, "Well, because you're going to eat me, because you've eaten all the other animals." And then off he goes. So there's your two stories. Either pick one and do it, or preferably do both of them. In your home learning book, write the date, write the learning objective. Oh, my headphones are dying. Write the learning objective, and then either stick in the story with your annotations on it, or write the headings and underneath it write your little notes or the words that you found. Now I'd like this is work for Wednesday, but you can also have Thursday up to 8 o'clock if you need it, but then I do need it handed in by Thursday night. Please hand it in using the assignment system, so as a submission for the assignment system like you've been doing for your homework, please don't send it to me as a personal message. Please don't do it as a comment underneath the piece of work. If you have any questions about it, then yes, you can do that as a comment under the piece of work, and myself or Miss Rumpf will try and answer you. Yeah, let's see what you get on. So there'll be a piece of maths to do as well today. I'm not going to do a video lesson on that because I'm only going to do 1 or 2 of those a day. The piece of maths is a kind of puzzle investigation that I want you just to have a go at and see how you get on. It's not too tricky a one. It's the first one we're going to do. They will get harder as we do these, as these next few weeks go on, but this is a nice one to get you started. But I'll leave that for the actual maths assignment for you to see it. Okay, good luck, and I will speak to you soon.